US dollar and the potential collapse of the currency and what it could actually do to other currencies such as the UK pound. So what is the US dollar? So the US dollar, it is a fiat currency. And what fiat currency is basically a form of currency which is only backed by the government. Back in 1971, which I'll talk about later, Richard Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, which basically meant it was completely transferable from dollars to gold at any given time. You had $100, you could go get whatever gold was worth at that time, they would transfer into gold for you. That was it. End of that. Since Nixon took the dollar off the gold standard, that is no more. The dollar is just a dollar, very much like the UK pound is. Various other currencies are exactly the same. Nearly all current paper currencies, like the yuan, yen, Deutschmark, they're all fiat currencies, meaning it's just confidence and government based. And unfortunately, fiat currencies have a very bad record in the long run of doing very well. Nearly all fiat currencies have collapsed. So that doesn't bode very well for us straight away. Something I talk about a lot on the channel is value and intrinsic value. And unfortunately, the problem with fiat currencies is they don't have that. If that currency devalues, then there's no point us really doing anything. We need to work out when we win what we should be putting our money into. So with the dollar and the pound being a fiat currency, that gives the government basically a green light to say you can print as much money as you want at any given time. And I don't know how many people realize this, but the craziness that is, it basically gives ultimate power to the Federal Reserve, and they can create money, which they have been creating money out of thin air, and they don't even have to print the money. The beauty of this system is they can just, numbers on a screen, they can just go, yeah, we want more billions, we want trillions more money, just put it into the system, and that's what they can do. Here it explains how they do that. 22% of circulating US dollars were printed in 2020. And that is a scary number. So essentially, if you look at it on very basic terms, 22% has been printed in 2020. And that, to me, says that has devalued the US dollar by that amount in 1 year, because the Federal Reserve have that power. It's like playing God. And it scares me when I've been following it for the last few years, and it's obviously been increasing. So as I said earlier in the video, guys, I was going to talk about President Richard Nixon taking the dollar off the gold standard, and why that's such a big thing is it leaves your currency open to so much manipulation, which is exactly what the Federal Reserve have done in America, and why that impacts other currencies as well. You know, if one country wants to do that, that's fine for that country. I mean, it's awful, but it's something they can do. But then the impact that it has on every person in the rest of the world is incredible. So as it says here in this article, President Richard Nixon's action in 1971 to end dollar convertibility to gold and implement wage price controls were intended to address the international dilemma of a looming gold run. So they were worried that it was obviously going to increase in value, and that would impact the dollar quite strongly. But what that did was that new economic policy marked the beginning of the end of the Bretton Woods international monetary system and temporarily halted inflation. After World War II, guys, and this is very important, it was dubbed the Bretton Woods system. After the meeting of 44 countries in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, in 1944, the countries agreed to keep their currencies fixed but adjustable in exceptional situations to the dollar. And this is what is key. And at that point, the dollar was fixed to gold. So we had some firm foundations in there. Everyone was fixed to the dollar. The dollar was fixed to the gold price. We have stability. That's what the problem was. Once Richard Nixon said, the United States are taking themselves off the gold standard, what that meant was the Bretton Woods Agreement kind of falls apart, because it impacts, you can't just have one country saying, oh, we don't want to do this anymore, because it impacts the reserve currency that the United States have. Because now there's no gold, well, we're all fiat currencies, and now we're sort of clinging on to America to hold, please be stable, America. And look what they're doing now. In the last few years, they have printed so much money. This is a picture of the rise and the fall of the dollar, the purchasing power of the US dollar from 1913 to 2019. And obviously, we know all about 2020 and 2021. But if you look in 1913, the Federal Reserve is created, and there's $100 worth of purchasing power on the top left-hand side of that graph. Now you can see all the kind of events that have played out over the last 106 years, Bretton Woods Agreement, and just look at the decline of the fall of the dollar. It is gone. It's nearly lost 98% of its purchasing power from 1913. And we're in a really strange situation here, because when you print more money, it does cause inflation, which then means that this is somehow, I mean, it's already, I don't even know what that equates to. It's probably $3, $4 maybe on that graph, but it's only going to get lower.